Yo! After the last video, I wanted to do something a little bit shorter, and a topic came up that no one except me noticed in the last video, which instantly told me what I wanted the next one to be about. So that's what this is gonna be. And I don't think very many people noticed this because I smoothly carried over the momentum and didn't stop and explain what I was thinking about and just kept recording the video. But for most characters, they have a secret last option, which I think is very powerful, which is that they can do a neutral jump. And this is like visually. I just keep talking smoothly, despite my inner self being in turmoil. So what am I talking about? It's the term neutral jump. Someone made this really neat jump notation system, and I've been thinking about it ever since I first heard about it, and I think it's so useful that every time I have to explain jump drift in any way in Melee, I just want to use this system. However, I've decided that despite wanting to use the system, I won't, for the sake of accessibility, so that people don't feel like they have to read up in order to understand my videos. That would be solved if everyone adopted this system. So, because of that, I wanted to raise some awareness on it. So what is it? It's essentially porting over the anime jump notation, or regular notation in general, you know, over to Melee, but specifically for jumping. Why is this useful? It's useful because of how jumps work in the game, which is something very few people actually understand correctly. In Melee, jump momentum is mostly decided in jump squat, and most people don't know this. Most people think that the drift after jumping matters the most. That's not the case. As long as you hold your stick in a position before being airborne, I think it's 2 frames before you go airborne, it'll read that stick position and decide your initial drift based on that. Now, this might not sound significant, but what it means is that for most situations, as long as you have a correct starting drift, you'll have the correct drift later on. And it's really easy to get enough mix-ups with a basic full drift forward, neutral drift, and full drift back. And as such, explaining this can be a little bit annoying. One of my favorite mix-ups that came up in the last video is the neutral jump versus full drift forward jump, where Falco does a neutral jump, and if the Marth tries to whiff punish, then they will miss, and then you do a second jump and you get a combo. This is basically indistinguishable, and here I can finally show an example. But explaining that takes a little bit. But if I just say a DF5 jump versus a DF6 jump, that's a little bit easier. The DF5, DF6 mix-up. And as such, as someone who likes to explain stuff, having that brevity and specificity is very attractive. And as you can see, here's the difference in how lasers work from the exact same position on the same frames. 0 drift is happening here after the jump. It's all in the jump, except for the 1 frame required to force the turnaround laser. But I think the biggest strength of this, you can read through it yourself, I'll link it in the description. The biggest strength is the specificity, in that when we talk about Melee, we often talk in broad strokes without knowing it. In this case, we usually talk about stuff like the Lord Stomp. However, the Lord Stomp is not one specific thing. Lord Stomp is all of these 3. All of these are Lord Stomps, but one might not work where the other ones work. Like this one will not work out of shield, for example. If you do a full drift in stomp, you will get clipped by, for example, Fox or Falco up tilt. Whereas if you do the slight one, you'll be fine because you go around them. But everyone just says, do a Lord Stomp. And having this and saying, oh, it's a J4 Lord Stomp, so slight back, or full back, or J5-4, where you do a neutral jump and then back in the air, you know, like regular drift. It helps. It gives you more accuracy in explaining stuff. And because of that, I wanted to talk about it, even if I myself won't be using it in my videos. A good example of this is the fact that whenever Fox up tilts Falco out of shield, if you do a full drift forward jump out of shield here, you will be clipped by the second up tilt before you can get your aerial out. However, if you do a J5, aka neutral jump, and then drift forward, J5-6, you'll go around it and then punish it. And that's super useful information to have, but just saying do jump down air doesn't give you that information. And saying do neutral jump down air, drift forward also is a mouthful. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I made a save state to go through this I don't think it's actually necessary for the point of the video, so I might cut that out. But here it is. It's just a Falco getting hit by up tilt and then mixing in the neutral jump, which lets him go around. And then you try and punish the regular one with a dash back. And if you try and punish the regular down air, you're too far away to punish the neutral jump down air. So you get this really cool situation where you get to truly mix up all the options. And if Fox wants to call out the neutral jump here, you can see that he has to, one, do a very weird extra dash to do it, but also he'll lose to the first down air. And explaining this takes a while without the notation, so it's one of my favorite situations, and going through all the different jumps is always painful when I know that there's a notation right there. So I just wanted to bring that up, and yeah, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see this more widespread in the future.